Okay, today what we're going to be learning is about the distance formula and the formula of a circle, um, which all derive from the Pythagorean theorem. Let me show you first the distance formula. What is the distance formula and what does it mean? Distance formula is, well, I forgot to put these little things here, so we're going to have to put them in there for me, is x to 2 minus x1 squared. Alright, so you need to put a little squared thing there. Plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay? What this means is it's the distance. So what we're trying to figure out is the distance from one point to another, which is actually just finding out the square root of distances between the y's and the distances between the x's, which as you can see makes a little triangle. So the actual distance between the two would make our hypotenuse. The distance between the y's would make our a, and the distance between our b's, or our x's, would make our b. So this is actually derived from the Pythagorean theorem as a squared plus b squared equals the distance, or c squared. So how do you use this? Well, what you need to do is you actually have to first label your points. So this is going to be x1, this is going to be y1, this is going to be x2, this is y2. Okay, so you label your points. Once you've labeled your points, you're going to put it into this formula right here. So what it's telling you to do is take the square root of x2, which is 1, minus x1, which is 5. You square it. Then you add y2, which is 5, minus y1, which is 8. You also square that. So when you do this, you get the square root of 1 minus 5, which is negative 4, squared, plus 5 minus 8, which if you do 5 minus 8, you get negative 3 squared. So let's actually square these. Negative 4 squared is going to be positive 16. You should always get a positive number when you square something, because a negative times a negative is a positive, or a positive times a positive is still also a positive. So since you're just multiplying the same number, it's either going to be negative times a negative or a positive times a positive, which will always make a positive number. Negative 3 squared is 9. Okay. 16 plus 9 is 25. If you put 25 in your calculator, you can get the square root equals 5. Same thing with this next one over here. Is you're going to go x1, y1, x2, y2. And we're just going to set it up the same exact way. So it's always going to be x2, which is 7, minus x1, which is 4. Square that. Plus y2, which is 10, minus y1, which is 4. So when you do this, you're going to get the square root of 3 squared plus 6 squared. When you do that, you can get the square root of 9 plus 36, which is just the square root of 45. Now, we actually have to reduce this, because if you put this in the calculator, we get a decimal. We don't want a decimal, we want to make it look pretty. So we're going to do what we did yesterday, which is do the square root of 45. Let's break it down. Two numbers that multiply to give us 45. Well, 9 and 5. Two numbers that break down to give us 9. is 3 and 3. Alright, so this is in prime factorization, 3, 3, and 5. If you multiply all those together, you'll get to 45. So, since it's a square root, we got to bring out things in pairs. There's a pair of 3's. The 5 does not have a pair, meaning it's got to go back home, so it's just going to be 5. And then 3's come out as a single, so it'll just be 3 square root 5. So the distance between those 2 points is 3 square root 5. So what I want you to do is I want you to do the next two, and then press play when you're done, and I'll show you what's going on. Okay. So this one again, I'm going to do this more quickly because you guys should be trying these on your own. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So what we're going to do again is you're going to take 7 minus 2 plus, or squared, plus 14 minus 2 squared. When you do that, you'll get the square root of 5 squared plus what looks like to be 12 squared. Then you get the square root of 25 plus 144, which is the square root of 169, which is just 13. So you should got 13 on the first one. It comes out pretty good. The second one's not going to come out that well, so it's going to become 6 minus 11 squared plus 4 minus 3 squared, which is just going to be 5, so it'll be negative 5 squared plus 1 squared, which is just 25 squared, or 25 plus 1, which is just the square root of 26. 26 can't be broken down, so that's just your final answer. Is the square root of 26 is your answer. Finding the perimeter of a triangle. Find the perimeter given the point of the triangle. So, what it's saying is you have a little triangle here. Your 3 points, here's the first point, so it's like this point's here, and this point is here. Okay? What it's asking you to do is find the perimeter of the whole thing. This time we are going to use the distance formula, and we are going to actually get the decimals and everything. So we're going to round decimals to the nearest tenth. Hold on one sec. So we're going to round decimals to the nearest tenth. Here, let me get a calculator up so that I have it ready. Alright. So first thing is we're going to have to find distance between that and that, this one and this one, and this one and this one. So it's going to take a little bit. So, since we've just been doing this, I'm going to do this pretty quickly so that we can get it done. So I'm going to just do this. Since we're going to put this in our calculator anyway, you might as well just put it in like this. You're going to hit the square root button. Alright. You're going to take your x's, which is going to be 8 minus 4 squared, plus 9 minus 5 squared. And if you do that, you should end up with the square root of 32. So if we square root 32, let me see if I can find my square root button on this thing. There it is. Okay. Square root of 32, if we round to the nearest tenth, it's going to be 5.7. So let's do the second one. So from here, these 2 points. So we're going to do the second one. We just did these two, now let's do these two. So it's going to be the square root of 2 minus 8 squared plus 4 minus 9 squared, which will end up being the square root of negative 6 squared plus negative 5 squared, which will just be the square root of 36 plus 25, square root of 61. So let's do that one. You get, okay, so our first side is 5.7, our second side is 7.8. Our third side, we do the same thing, it's just now with these two. Okay. I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter which one becomes x1, which one is x1 and y1, as long as x1 and y1 is the same point. So this can't be x1 and this be y1. They have to be x1, y1 type of thing. I'm just going to do it from front to back. Okay, so we're going to take 2 minus 4 squared plus 4 minus 5 squared, which is just the square roots of what's going to be 4 plus 1, which will just be the square root of 5. So we're going to take 5, we're going to square root it, and finally our third side is 2.2. Okay? Now perimeter, what it means is to take, so we have each side, perimeter means to add these up. That's all it means, is to take all the sides and add them together. So we're going to take 2.2 plus 7.8 plus 5.7. We're going to get this, 15.7. And that is our perimeter of the triangle. So all we're doing is we're doing the distance formula 3 times between all the points so that we can actually figure out what the perimeter is. Okay? You're going to do the same one here. Okay? So I'm going to do it 3 times. First time, 7 minus 6 squared plus 5 minus 5 squared, which this side will end up being 1. So this side will be 1 because we'll get the square root of 1, which is square root of 1 is 1. The next one we're going to do is going to be it's going to be 6 minus 7 squared plus 9 minus 5, which will end up being the square root of, it's going to be 1, that's going to be 16, so it's going to be square root of 17. Which this one is 4.1. And then finally the third side, we're going to do the same thing, except for now it's between these 2 points. So it's going to be the square root of 6 minus 6 squared plus 9 minus 5 squared. When you actually get that, you'll end up with 4. So our perimeter will be 1 plus 4.1 plus 4. Those are our 3 sides. And you'll end up with 9.1 as your perimeter. Okay? So what I want you to do is to do these 3. Remember, you find the distance between those 2, you find the distance between those 2, and then you find the distance between these 2. Once you've done that, you should have your perimeter by adding up all the sides. So pause the video and do that. Okay, since you guys should have done it already, I'm going to do this pretty quickly again. Okay, so this first one we do the same thing. You do the distance formula 3 times. So first, between the first two, so it'll be 11 minus 4 squared plus 9 minus 6 squared. So if we do that, this is going to end up being 7, this is going to end up being 3, so it will be 50 square root of 58, which equals this should be 7.6 is our first length. The next one, it'll be 8 minus 9 squared plus 6 minus 11 squared, which is just end up being the square root of 26, which I think we already did that, didn't we? Yep. Square root is 5.1. And finally the last one, which will be 8 minus 6 squared plus 6 minus 4 squared, which will just be the square root of 8 2.8. Again, to get perimeter, we have to add up all three. Which is 15.5. Last one. Okay. So the first one's going to be square root of 12 minus 7 plus squared plus 11 minus 11 squared, which will end up just being 5. Once you do all the math and take it all out, because this will be 12 minus 7 squared, which will be 5 squared, plus 0 squared, which will just be 25, so the square root of 25 is 5. Next one, this is going to be 7 minus 12, and 15 minus 11 squared. So this is going to be the square root of 5 squared plus 4 squared, which will be the square root of 25 plus 16, which will equal 41. The square root of that will be 6.4. And last, this one and this one, square root of 7 minus 7 squared plus 15 minus 11 squared, which will end up just being the answer before. When you add all those up, you should get 15.4 as your perimeter. So that's distance formula, and that's how you find a triangle using distance formula, by just finding the 3 different sides lengths and then adding them up, because once again perimeter means is the length from the outside. Okay. Now, last but not least is a circle. Once again, this is also formulated from the Pythagorean theorem. But the formula of a circle is using h and k. H is the x value of the center of the circle. K is the k value, or the y value of the center of the circle, and r is the radius, meaning from the center to an edge, how far that is the radius. So, what we're going to do is, given the center and the diameter or radius, find the equation of a circle. In this first one, they give us diameter. Diameter is the length of the circle all the way across. What we want is only half of this, which is the radius. So to get the radius, we just have to take 10, you divide it by 2, and you get the radius equals 5. Okay? So now we have the x, the y, and the r. So the h, this is going to be the h, because it's the x value. The 4 is going to be the k, it's the y value, and the r is 5. We're just going to plug it into this thing. It becomes x plus 9. Actually, hold up. Sorry. I screwed up on this formula. You guys will have it fixed on yours, but I screwed it up on mine. So it's going to be x minus h, squared, plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay? So I know you guys probably by now have called me over, but I'll tell you, yeah, later in the video I just corrected. Alright, so x plus, or x minus 9 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 5 squared. Now we actually had to take this 5 and square it, because all I did was I took the r, replaced it where the r is at. I took the h, or the k, replaced it where the k should be, and I took the h and replaced it where the h should be. This 5, it needs to actually be squared out, so it looks like this. X minus 9 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 25. That's the answer. That's how we find the formula of a circle. Next one. Alright, h is the k, h is the x, k is the y, and we know the radius is 3. So this one we don't have to do anything to the radius because they gave us what we want. So once again, all we're going to do is plug in x minus h, which is 11, plus squared, plus y minus h, which is 3, squared equals 3 squared. Okay? Which ends up being x minus 11 squared plus y minus 3 squared, and 3 squared is 9. Okay, next one. Once again, h, k, and then this should be the r. So you're just going to plug these in. It's going to be x minus h, and h is 5 squared, plus y minus h, which is 7 squared, and then I'm just going to square the 6, so we get 36. And that's it. Okay. Now you guys try these two, and then come back. Okay, this first one, it's diameter, so we need to divide by 2, so r equals 2. So your end product should look like this. X minus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 4. That's what that one should look like. This one, the radius is already given to us, so it should be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 8 squared equals 25. Now, these are circles, and we're going to do these. Alright, so first, this is how you can tell from the graph. We got to figure out what our center is. Well, our center, if we go down, is -2 for the x, so our center is -2, 4 is our center. And our radius, what you do is you either go up, down, left, or right, it doesn't matter which, but you go from the center and you count to the edge. So we count 1, 2, 3. So that means that our r equals 3. So all we've got to do here is now plug it in. So it becomes x minus a -2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 3 squared. We have a double negative here. Okay, because this is negative, this is going to make this a double negative, and then it'll end up being positive. So it's going to be x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 9. So that's the formula just looking at a graph. Now sometimes they're not going to give you the center, so you got to find the center. So I think the center, usually it looks right about there. Okay, so I'm going to count to the edge. 1, 2, 3, 4. So r equals 4. My center is at 6, -1. So all I gotta do is plug this in. So it's gonna be x minus 6 squared plus y minus -1 squared equals 4 squared. Or x minus 6 squared plus, there's a double negative, so this becomes a y plus 1 squared equals 16. And that's it. Okay, I want you to do the u-try, and then I'm going to do this quickly. Okay, so if you do the u-try, you should end up with x, because the center's right here, you should get x minus 4 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 4. That should be your final answer for the u-try. Sorry. If you have any questions, ask. If not, then get started on the work.